Okay, we're going to flash the latest firmware onto the motor. And what I've done is I have the STLINK clone programmer. I've got 4 wires connected, so red's connected to 5 volts, green to ground, orange to SWIM, and yellow to reset. So we don't actually need the reset, so there's just 3 that we need. And on the other end, what I've actually done is I've put heat shrink around. I've basically pulled the little metal connectors out of the plastic insulators, like on the other end, and then I put heat shrink over them so they're a lower profile. I've also inserted these little connectors into the male counterpart, but at a 45-degree angle, just to make them a little bit bigger, because what you'll find is that the pins inside the speed sensor socket are slightly bigger. So I've got the speed sensor socket with the flat part at the bottom, and so now we're going to connect ground, which is green, to the bottom left. We're going to connect SWIM to the bottom right, which is, just double check that, orange. And then we're going to connect red, which is voltage 5 volts, to the very top pin. Okay, and we're also going to disconnect the battery power. And now I will use the world's longest USB cable. It's actually an active repeater. And we'll go back inside and we'll flash the motor with the latest firmware. Now we have the motor connected to flash. We're going to open ST Visual Programmer, and the first thing you're going to want to do is to configure the programmer software to tell it what hardware you're using to flash. So you're going to want to choose ST-Link, should default to USB, programming mode is SWIM, SWIM, and then the device you're going to select is STM8S105X6. It's the same device you're going to use for both flashing the motor and flashing the display. In this case, we're just going to flash the motor. Now you can check that you have a good connection to the motor by reading the existing firmware from it. So you can read on all tabs, and that's going to read out the existing program memory, data memory, and option byte. We're just interested in flashing the program memory of the motor, so choose the program memory tab again, click on open. In this case, I'm flashing the throttle version of the absolute latest firmware, version 7.17. Select that, and then you want to use the Program Current tab button here. And down the bottom you'll see that it's programming, verifying, and that it's successfully verified. So you're done. You've flashed the motor with the new firmware.